Hi guys, and welcome back to SwitchUp. Now, they had that direct mini, didn't they? Was it a mini or a micro or a micro? Either way, it had Rogue Company in it, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, that's a bit of me right there. And I wanted to know if Hi-Rez had done enough to justify the Founders Pack purchase, of which there are 3 different tiers. I made the purchase, as I'm sure you can imagine, otherwise this review would be pretty shocking, and I wanted to answer the question, is it bad company or just a bad game? Let's find out.
Make a statement. Mission accomplished. Oh, but you're...
There's absolutely no point me going into the story because essentially there really isn't one. So let's move straight on to the gameplay and controls. As alluded to in the introduction there, the game takes inspiration from things like Bad Company in its general character and the way your team are portrayed as a group working together, but that's about as far as it goes. You create your rogue from one of many different options, with a few of them remaining locked until you meet the prerequisites to unlock them or you pay a bit of cash. Interestingly, what I liked about this system was rather than simply being a skin, each of them has their own characteristics, and this includes the abilities that you can use. These perks mean that individual team members become much more useful, with one being able to lay a trap, another, my preferred choice, being able to hack the area, which shows you information about the enemies, and others carrying stim packs and healing abilities. Once your team of 4 are locked in, there are 2 different game modes to play through. These are Demolition and Strikeout. As the name suggests, Demolition involves planting a bomb and keeping it there until it explodes, very much in a similar vein to something like Counter-Strike. And there are quite a few elements that actually reminded me of that title, one of my favourite of all time. While the second game mode, Strikeout, sees the 2 teams trying to capture and hold an area, so nothing overly new here, but when used well, those team abilities can be the difference. Now thankfully, and I'm glad to say, the Nintendo Switch version does seem to support crossplay across all platforms, as well as voice chat. I haven't actually used it myself, but I've heard other players' voices in-game, so I can definitely confirm that it is there. You start out on board a ship, where you're given some currency that you can spend to buy different weapons and upgrades from your loadout. As you win rounds and earn more cash, you'll then have more money to spend, and then essentially a slight advantage at the start of each round, with the winning team being the one to reach 7 first. Cash also brings you the ability to purchase perks. These may be passive, allowing for you to regenerate your health more quickly, or the more expensive ones, essentially tagging enemies that you shoot for all other players on your team to see. It's a really useful skill. The combat takes place from a third-person perspective, and after you've made your initial choices, you jump from the ship and glide down to the start of the level. Areas that you can land in are indicated with a different colour, and it is quite cool that you can see where the enemies are gliding to in the distance. As you get better at the game, you can use this to your advantage. Your character can crouch behind cover, with one class being able to generate and create their own, and you'll be using the third-person perspective peek technique quite a lot. You can aim down your sights, and glory of glories, there is gyroscopic aiming, and it's being done well. While I began very shaky, after I turned down the sensitivities to as low as they'd go and just used it when aiming down the sights, it became really a pleasant implementation of gyroscopic aiming, with little drift, and clearly you could see the players that were using it well, as opposed to those who weren't using it at all, and it was definitely a benefit. Weapon physics are more on the arcade side, with machine guns you can hold the trigger down, you don't have to worry too much about bullet spread, and rather the real test here is your own accuracy. You can switch between your main and secondary weapon on the fly with the press of a button, but if you hold the button down and you have it, then you can change to your melee option. And melee weapons were really powerful in this game. If it comes down to you and an opponent within 2 meters of each other and one has a gun and you've got your katana, you can guarantee you're going to be winning that fight. As unfortunately I discovered, to my detriment, quite a few times early on. There are multiple options for building your team, and you can create and have friends join your party before venturing online, and if you have some form of voice communication between you all, you're going to perform far better, as the game really is best played as a team, and I could tell when I was playing against a 4-man, as the communication aspect changes everything. The levels are designed in such a way that with multiple routes and blind spots, peeking points, and some good verticality on some stages. As far as balancing goes, the classes seem to be quite well leveled as it stands right now. I didn't notice any particularly overpowered players, and it really does come down to your own skills, which isn't always the case. This is backed up by performance, but I'll go more into that in the next section. Although as it stands as a founder, you are essentially just paying for a beta, as we saw with something like Vigor, they have at least included a decent chunk of content. There's a number of maps for you to play through, and for those interested, not only does it have cross-play, it also has cross-save, so you can carry on playing on different systems, which is a nice touch. In addition to the usual array of controls, there's a nifty little dodge roll, which works well for escaping sticky situations. But if you do find yourself knocked, there are a couple of options. Obviously, another player can get you up. There's a player perk, which allows for a drone to come and heal you, but it doesn't take much to find yourself finished off pretty quickly. I think what Rogue Company does well that I enjoy is to take some of the more fun aspects of Battle Royale games and shrink them down into a tactical team-based title that has that close intensity that comes from not only the map size and design, but also those game types on offer. And that, I guess, is going to be where some of it falls down. It is a shame that they don't have a deathmatch or a team deathmatch. And some might say, why hasn't it got a Battle Royale mode? But actually, I don't think that's what they're going for here. And in all honesty, I'm a bit worn out with those. I enjoy that each team has a finite number of respawns when playing the strikeout mode. And I like that in the demolition, you have your one life and that's it. Very much like Counter-Strike. As it stands so far, I think this is a good start for Rogue Company and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. There have been a few quirks, there's no doubt about it, and we'll talk about those now, but as far as gameplay goes, I give it 16 out of 20. It's in its infancy, but it feels like it could be something really quite excellent, and it's great that they've included gyro controls and the ability to tweak and change absolutely everything. My only negative with the controls as they stand are that at the default settings, it can be a touch twitchy if you do use that motion. Controls score 18 out of 20. Another Nintendo Switch release and another implementation of the Unreal 4 engine. We've seen it used well and we've seen it used very, very poorly, and this falls somewhere in the middle for a number of reasons. On the one hand, the performance is excellent for the most part. It runs at 60 FPS, which is perfect for an online shooter, and realistically, making it crossplay, they needed to get that 60 FPS. Also visually, it's not bad at all. The resolution remains pretty solid, and bar the in-flight purchasing section, which tends to lag a little, when you're down on the ground, things smooth out nicely. Character models are solid and the designs are quite interesting. The game's certainly got flair. I love the, albeit slightly overt, background loading cover, where they get the 4 players to stroll in front of the camera with badass music playing in the background and it introduces each of you. That's a very nice touch. Weapon acoustics are also quite good. I found with a set of headphones, it was easy to pinpoint where the shots were coming from. And the same goes for footsteps. There are certain perks which can hide these, but generally you can hear when there's a player running in your area and you get used to the acoustics and which direction those are coming from. What I didn't like as much was some of the weapon sounds. The gunshots on most weapons, they lack that meaty impact that you'd find in, say, a Doom shotgun, and didn't quite do it for me in that regard. Handheld performance is equally solid, it's not bad at all. The main issue I have with the game as it stands are a number of bugs. I experienced a crash to desktop within the first few minutes, with the old classic error message coming on screen, and I had what is quite possibly one of the worst audio bugs I've ever heard in a game. The sound completely disappeared and it was replaced with a high-pitched siren, which then crashed me back to the main home screen, and I couldn't actually get into any more games until I'd restarted. After these first initial quirks, which in all fairness seemed to take place within my first hour of play, I then played solidly for another 4 or 5 hours without any issue. Whether or not the old trusty Switch was just getting warmed up, I don't know, but it's worth thinking about, particularly if you have other platforms. In its defense, I think this is one of the better implementations of the UT4 engine, and maintaining that 60 FPS for the vast majority, they've done well there. That's very good for gameplay. Currently, visuals and performance are decent, but those few little glitches have me wary that other players may experience something similar, so I'm docking a couple of points. It gets 14 out of 20. While the audio seems okay, I didn't particularly like the gunshot sounds, but some of the music's spot on. But again, having that audio issue means I'm going to have to at least take off 1 point. I give audio 15 out of 20. In terms of value then, well, this is a slightly strange one, and it really speaks to the unusual climate we currently stand in terms of what's free to play and what's not. There's the Starter Founders Pack, which is £13.49, the Standard Founders Pack, which is double that price, and then there's the Ultimate Founders Pack, which is even more again. What do these net you? Well, different skins and a few different character unlocks, but not a great deal that's going to affect your ability to play the game. So in all honesty, I would suggest going for the baseline version. Unlike another recent Founders Edition, I would actually recommend this one. I'm really enjoying it personally, and I don't feel like £13.49 is too much to ask for the condition the game's currently in. I look forward to where this one's going, and overall as it stands, I would say value scores 16 out of 20. Hopefully they'll be adding more and more content as the game gains popularity.
The fully customizable Mamba AC rifle, side-folding columns.
So there we have it. Overall, I'm enjoying Rogue Company more than I have done many of its recent rivals. It's great it has cross-progression, cross-play and gyro aiming. They definitely just need to iron out a few of the early game bugs. As it stands, it scores a SwitchUp score of 79%, easily in the 80s once they've done that ironing. Let me know down in the comments if you enjoy this one. I would really like to get a group of you on the Discord so that we can have a company of 4 heroes heading online. I'll leave all links to the Discord down in the description and in the top comment. As always, big thanks for watching this review. I hope you've enjoyed it. And a big thanks to our patrons who support the channel each and every month. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys. See ya!
Sword was good buy. Think of money we'll save on ammo. Okay, we did your store. Now we do mine.
All right.
Samiko sushi, here we go.